grand rise, divine and blessed be to the day. Remember, today is the only day that matters. For the occultists, for the alchemists, for the bruja, for the initiate, for the adept. Always remember, today is the only day to get yourself in alignment. You are the only one that matters, because today is that nexus point of now. And speaking about that now, throughout the day to day, I know a lot of people going back to school and all these aspects. Chaos matters. And that's what we're gonna get into today. Chaos matters. That pendulum that swings, that law of rhythm, that nothing rests. Everything is moving, everything is going. And as we're getting deeper into these aspects of understanding ourselves, as that shadow work comes, understanding these initial laws help us to better be proactive instead of reactive. Remember, we're going from the aspect of how to think, what to think, and we're going into the aspects of how to think. We're becoming, instead of being reactive to what we should be thinking and what we should be doing, we're becoming proactive in how we set the tone is based on how we are aligned within ourselves. Allowing these things to come out, allowing these things to come up. That chaos is needed. But you are the thought before the chaos. Everything is within that space of chaos. And that's we're gonna get into that. But of course, we gotta do the God thought, then we'll do that weekly reading. This weekly reading is gonna be brought to us by that the Oracle deck. So we're gonna go deeper into the meanings that's on each card. And then we're gonna get into this wonderful session brought to you by your master of ceremonies, Papa Lucy. Welcome to the God Hour Podcast. This is season 3, episode 28. Chaos Matters. Let's get into this. God thought. Sometimes we believe that we have a misconception of staying relevant. We have a misconception about being within our space and continuing to grow back on the alignment. Staying relevant on the external state is falling into the trends, falling into the categories. I'm super woke or all these aspects. But that stifles chaos. Chaos is that needed aspect, that needed part to the formula to actually perform your magic. What I notice is a lot of times people get stuck within the trend or the glamour of being able to say what they are. That saying what you always are, standing by what you are, it causes complacency. It allows that chaos to fester. So what people are noticing a lot of times is that chaos is festering. So their life's not going right, the chaos is festering. It's not being stimulated, it's not being used to its fullest potential. And this is when we get into the aspects of potential, this is when we get into the aspects of timing, the fragments, and all these aspects. All of these pieces are needed to fuel you to go forward. You don't do all this work to actually to stay the same. And that's the aspect behind the work. We don't do this much work to stay the same. You do not do the upteen hours of shadow work, the tears, the laughter, the anger, the rage. You don't do all of that to come back and be the same exact person or the same exact entity that you were in the beginning. It doesn't work that way. Because if you set yourself into that tone, everything that reflects outside of you will be a constant conflict. Look out your window when you do your meditation. Look how calm it is outside. You see birds flying around. For me, for example, I see birds flying around. I see the skies, a nice little cloudiness like it's gonna rain. And I'm embracing this moment because everything is a reflection in my natural scape where I'm at. How can I use the aspect that it's about to be cloudy and it's about to be rain? It gives me the understanding that there's always gonna be that storm. How do I see when I see the bird flying by? I need to start taking in that bird's eye view of my environment. Everything is an aspect to learn from. And when you start thinking in the basis of being proactive, of knowing how to think, and how to move forward, how to access that thinking, that knowing, that gnosis, instead of what to think, you don't fall into those potholes without having a way out. And that's the major key to that. And that's what we don't get into that. This was the God Thought. Welcome to the God Hour. You know, Poppy gotta hit y'all with that reading off next, so stay tuned for the weekly reading. Up to the God. I love y'all. You know we gotta get ready for that weekly reading. Today we're gonna be using this week we're gonna be using the Oracle deck. I like using the Oracle deck when I'm doing like reflection, especially since right now Uranus is in retrograde. You know that Chiron brought that light to those things in the dark. That Mercury, when it was in retrograde, it brought us into that phase of where we at now. And the moon being in Taurus when Uranus went in your retrograde, that set the tone of grounding. Becoming headstrong on removing those toxic elements, removing those elements from our lives. And as I'm sitting here finishing up the shuffle, I'm pulling out. First card we pull out was fragments. The second card, let's go for that second card. Ooh. Second card is potential. Third card, we got listen. That fourth card is renewal. That fifth card is the most important card, is always connection. So we're looking at these fragments. These fragments that have come up in our life of our old self, our old identity. And now that we are setting the tone to heal ourselves, our ego, that identity, those grasp of humanity is gasping for air. There's a lot of things in your life right now that are gasping for air. They need your attention. They need you to be the same way that you were, so they can be the same way that they are. In the deeper aspect of that, they haven't learned how to charge themselves like you do. They haven't learned how to look at the things in the face like you do. And that's what's going to bring the greatest potential. Now you have the potential to actually look at these things from how they were. Looking at these things, start studying these things, start reevaluating yourself, reevaluating that job, that relationship, those partnerships, those opening up the potential to them new partnerships, them new relationships, taking yourself to the new level. Your energy was never too low. It was just that you were putting it in so many different places. The reason that it was so low, it seemed so low, your energy seemed so bogged down, is because you were putting it into those old places. You kept putting it into old friendships that weren't working. You kept putting it into that old job. Now it's 2020 vision. 2012 years, 2020 is the vision. And I say that because 2012 is that signified as it was the end. The 2020 is that new vision. Now that things are ending and coming to that surface, what are you looking at? Now it's time to actually start listening. It's time to start listening to yourself even more. Listening to that voice when you're doing your meditation. Listen to that voice. Listen to what resonates with you. Let it resonate with the new you, not the old you. Sometimes you get stuck in the 19s. I know people that are stuck in that 1996 era, that 99 era, that 2000 was a very good year era. And they're listening based on that. And what they're projecting from that space is what was already had them in that space. The key to renewal, the key to that aspect of you renewing yourself, bringing yourself to this new level is looking at what environment you're in now. Right now we're in the environment of social media. YouTube is cracking off. People that want to do their own TV stations. I'm thinking about doing my own TV station, doing my internet TV station. That's coming soon. So many new things are coming up, but is it based upon your old traumas, the things that you were afraid to do? And then when you start being stuck in that aspect, this is what stops your renewal. Things can come into your space right now. I just pulled up another card to talk about productivity. We'll get into that later. But now you're in this new space. What are the connections? Now that you're renewing yourself, now that you're coming back to that circle effect, the snake eating its tail effect, and you understand that your energy is always moving. Everything is infinite. There's infinite information. There's infinite knowledge within that infinite light. You are that body of light. Therefore, the knowledge is a reflection of your body of light. The things that you used to think before have become redundant to now. The things that you used to move in before based upon what you thought was what to think, the things that you were thinking and what to think to react, that was an aspect of your feeling. Now you're in an aspect of being proactive and looking at how your feelings, how your emotions are in balance. How are you feeling based on your emotion being in balance? Your weight, that weight is coming off your shoulders. All of these aspects are coming off your shoulders. And that's what I talk about when we go into that call, talking about those connections. The connections in your life. Every connection I'll use myself as that example. The connections that are in my life is everything from how do I invest money to how overall do I create a space that is suitable for everything that I'm doing next. Everything that you're doing next, is it suitable? Is it suitable for you to be thinking about what everybody else is thinking, everybody else is moving? Especially when those things were based upon trauma. Especially if they were based upon trauma. If you've done the necessary healing, this is one thing aspect between that thin line between trauma and actual when you're in the healing spot. The things that come up based upon trauma, how you deal with those things to heal yourself, when you meet that nexus point to that healing of yourself, it changes everything. Now the same things that might come back up when you come back around, if you learn from them, you'll be able to observe it. And it won't affect you as it used to affect you. You'll sit down and look back like, that used to affect me like that. This used to affect me like this. It's time to change the chaos. And we're going to get into changing the chaos right after this message. But this was that weekly reading. If you are interested in a reading, hit up GodCoAlchemistLLC.com, or you can hit me up in my inbox on Facebook. Hit me up in my inbox and hit me in the DMs on my Instagram. All that information to be within the plug talk, or how to stay in contact with me and everything that the God Alchemist Papa Lucy is always knowing. This has been your weekly reading. If it took you, embrace it. If you didn't understand it, if it resonated with you, that means it's time to actually embrace it and start learning it. Get back to that love in yourself. Get back to that aspect of the connection with yourself, the renewal of yourself, listening to yourself. The potential is greatness within those fragments that you now work on. Let's get into this. Let's get into this episode. Time for the percolator. Hey, time for the percolator. Hey, time for the percolator. Let's get it percolating. Let's get it cracking again with another episode of the God Podcast. Gotta keep it nice and chaos. One thing that I wanted to add on to the weekly reading. You cannot teach what has you stuck. You cannot teach what has you stuck. What has you stuck in a certain space cannot be what I would consider suitable for me to learn anything from. The only thing I've learned from a lot of these aspects when I'm dealing with a lot of, I'm coming into my spiritual aspects of me, the spiritual aspects of the higher aspects of myself. Let me put it that way. Is that when you have exceeded past a certain point, just in yourself, you start seeing the gaps in the time loops between others. You start seeing where conversations got left off at. That's what we're gonna call it. The matters of the heart. The matters of what's on your heart. What led you to the place where you're at? What led you into the space that you're at now? How you're growing? How you've evolved? How you took in yourself? These are those things that are most important to look at. Friday, we got into some more deeper aspects of shadow work. And in this, we're going to get deeper into the aspects of the chaos and why chaos matters. But those matters that are on the heart, the things that we don't like to deal with, the things we don't really like to talk about, the things that we really don't want to get really deep into, those are aspects that are definitely needed. Sometimes we get into a space where our identity gasps for air. Identity, our ego is going to gasp for air. It's always going to set you up into this aspect of, no, we shouldn't do this, or no, this is where it's at. We're getting everything we need from here. Then after a while, you start going around other individuals, and you can tell someone goes around certain individuals, and they're not open to learn. They're not open to go to the next level. They're not open to reach to that next space. And then you look at this is when you start really observing this from that observer point of view. You start looking at what they're doing. You can tell when somebody's stuck in a certain paradigm or in a certain shift. We know, just like if I said, the old head that's walking around the mall right now with his pant leg rolled up. Or you got the old heads, or you got the people that are stuck within the 90s. They're stuck within where they got their energy from, where they got their awakening at. But you can stay somewhere so long where you're awake that you fall back to sleep. You can stay somewhere so long that you fall back to sleep. I just wanted to put that out there and make that very well known. A couple of days ago, went to a kickback, went to a mutual friend's birthday party. Man, cool. Now, this same person that I've talked to this person before months prior. I talked to them probably around the same time, coming up around the same time I talked to him last year. And from the conversation, I could see that they were still stuck within that paradigm or that space, that paradox. And as we were speaking, the first time that we spoke, it was laying all that on the table. Stating their status, where they're at, the external states of being. The second time we had a conversation, I noticed that there was a lot more acceptance and admitting things. And the craziest part about it is that was a necessary aspect of chaos. As a chaos being, you got to know when your shit's active. And we get afraid of the chaos. Like, we like to dip our toes into the chaos. That pool, we like dipping our feet in the pool to see how it feels, and we get overwhelmed because it's too cold. Or we get overwhelmed because we want it to be just right. And then we get overwhelmed by the power of that wave itself. Changing and shifting you and taking you to the next level is the most important part. Most important part of that. I think about myself now as compared to October 16th of last year. I think about October 16th of last year. That's the first episode of the God Hour podcast. Been doing podcast episodes ever since then. I've been doing the podcast, going heavy in the podcast ever since then. September 13th of last year, I started the God of Co-Alchemy, my YouTube channel, and been doing lectures ever since. Every time that I've started something now, my consistency in committing is different. I remember back when I wasn't even in my, I was wiping the crust up my eyes, but I wasn't fully aware. And I noticed my consistency would be off. I would start something for a couple of days, start something for a month or two. I would start working out for a couple months. I would start working out for a couple months till I got to a certain point. I would start studying something to a couple of points, to a couple of months, and then I would just stop. I never knew the aspect of why I stopped. And then I started realizing why I stopped. Now I'm at the point where I can go back and be like, I know why I stopped. A lot of the problem with consistency for us is because it's based on the external state of being that we've been getting into. That external state or that status quo of what it should be like, or this should be the finished product. The biggest aspect of understanding why things are not going to play out the way that they're playing out, or they're going in this phase the way they need to be going, is because that's not you. That's not your experience. You can use someone else's experience to learn, but to try to become somebody, you need to, in order to become something, you must embody all of their experiences. That means if I wanted to look like Terry Crews, or don't want to be that fucking big. If I wanted to look like Terry Crews, we're using for an example, I would have to go through the exact regimen that he did. I would need to have that exact regimen. I'm in the same. So when we do this based on the external state, trying to look like this picture, or look like this person, or look like this becomes the definition of following this. That's the definition of following that trend. As I readjust myself in my chair, that becomes the exact definition of following the trend. Because when that trend seems to die off or nobody's doing it anymore, you don't want to do it anymore. Or you get stuck within that trend. It's like looking at the old lady, been wearing the same hairstyle since she was able to do her own hair. Or looking at the brother that's wearing the same outfits that they wore back when they were in the 90s. Maybe because they missed something and they weren't able to fully get it. A lot of this, I call it the prison complex. The prison complex for a lot of people is you get stuck within a certain space where you reformed yourself, and nothing else outside of that timeline matters because your identity is now grasped to all the great parts that are within that space. This is one thing that I've noticed I just noticed that I was doing some edits on some videos earlier just doing some edits on some videos. And one of the apps that I use, it was playing the Biting Camilla commercial. You made a good choice. You made a good choice. And then I started realizing that people are stuck on image. I see more and more people are more stuck on image. They're stuck on the image of what the image surveys and not understanding that that's the symbol. When you're not doing the work that you necessarily need to do, you can't see the symbol. So if I can't see the symbol, when the trauma is coming up based on the symbol, I repeat giving my energy to it. I repeat allowing that symbol to be something that can pull something away from me. One thing that is ever so present is right now that you have this great chance to grow. I was did meditate a little bit this morning, and we did the rhythm aspects. Not understanding that nothing stops. Nothing stops, it comes down to it can come down to a slow crawl, but it's still moving. Everything in your space right now is moving. The only reason you're able to see it is because you have now defined it as what it is. Until you define it, it's still chaos. So before chaos is the thought. Once you define the chaos, it becomes it becomes that effect. It becomes that new effect. So me sitting right here looking across the room and the TV's hanging on the wall. If I never see, this is one of the second, third TVs I actually put on the wall for myself. TV's on the wall. Now, if I came into the house, if I came into this space and never seen a TV on the wall before, I would think that would be the coolest shit on earth. I would think based on everything else, I would have to pull in all the information that was left on the floor. It now becomes that image of the TV on the wall. So I think about a TV being on the wall. I think about, oh man, you well off. You doing good. Man, you got a big screen on the wall. You got you doing good. You doing good. The perception. Man, I wish I could do something like that, man. I'm trying to be good as you. The perception. Now, if I feed into this perception, okay, I got a TV on the wall, it means I'm doing some big things. If I was still stuck in my identity or my ego, I would boast about the TV being on the wall. I would boast about the pictures being on the wall. I would boast about whatever symbol that I'm wearing at the point in time. I'll be stuck within that space based on that TV. I'll be stuck just like that TV on the wall. This is the aspect where people get stuck with the stuff that's on their heart, the stuff that they got to let go of. Because at a point in time, you have to remember that the thing that led you to that next effect is going to be the same thing that you got to go back to understand yourself, get back to that natural state of you, that primordial self. So the chaos that it took me to put that, it wasn't really that much chaos, but it was chaos. The chaos that it took me to put this TV on the wall was finding the studs, drilling the holes, hanging up the mount, putting everything in, making sure the wires were hitting behind the sleeve that's behind it so you can't see them, to give a quality product based upon the knowing. My mindset is already within the space of like whatever I do now is to the truth of my ability. I'm open to learning. As opposed to, man, I never put that TV on the wall, man. That's too hard. That's too much work. then I wait, and then I have to pay somebody or some external thing will have to help me do it. This is the aspect when you're getting into yourself of understanding those matters of your heart. Understanding them thoughts that are on your mind. We have to understand that if you're not doing the programming, someone else is always doing the programming. Your subconscious is constantly being reprogrammed. Your mind, everything about you is constantly being reprogrammed, and it's constantly fixating itself, or that in it, that whatever information coming up here is matriculated into the avatar that you're in anyway. Think about GTA. Think about Grand Theft Auto. Think about Sims. Think about all these games where you get the RPGs and it's a role-playing game. Random role-playing game. Like when you become that character. So when you get stuck in, like, you got all the information, you made a download, you downloaded Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat Aftermath, whatever. Let's use that as an example. You recorded that. Took the information in. Okay, cool. I got my download. What skin do I want to wear for the day? Is that thought process put in your mind? What skin do I want to wear today? Do I want to wear which Mortal Kombat character do I want to be today? How do I want to battle the day? Is the thought process that you take into your mind. This is based under the same programming as when you wake up in the day and you're actually creating that avatar for your ass to exist whenever space that you need to go to. Whoa. Okay, we're good. Music had me nervous. I know what's going on. Go up here. All right, cool, we there. And make sure my levels are right in the music. But you take yourself into this aspect of when you're going forward. Friday, I went into the aspects of being truly unaffected, truly not giving a fuck, truly not caring. It's the chaos that's going to show you how much you really care. It's the chaos that's going to show you how much you truly care. It's the chaos that's really going to show you how people really are. It's the chaos that's really going to take you to the level of observer that you need to get to. If you're not getting into that level of being the observer, then you're going to be the level of always reacting to everything. Still thinking based on what other people think. Still feeling based on what other people feel. Stuck in the up and down motion of this person said this and this person said that. I was supposed to be doing this, but then ask this about this and ask this. What's the point? The human accolades or the accolades based upon humanity are not really what you're looking for. If I can go back, I use it as an example. Everything that I do now, as regards to however I'm putting out content, putting out information, whether it's through the podcast, through the lectures, Meditate and Elevates, Sunday service, the God Hour show, all of these aspects that I put all this information on. All of the platforms, the streams of light that when I stream out that light. I couldn't have done none of this if I was in the mindset of something taking what I do or in fear of somebody wanting to debate me. I don't debate. It all comes into setting your boundaries. Setting your boundaries within the parameters of yourself. So when I step into a space, it's like, I don't argue. I will not argue and I will not debate. You will not have me in any space arguing, debating about anything of the sort. You won't have me do it. It ain't gonna work. You're gonna hate yourself at the end of the day because you're gonna be like, yo, this debate. What I'm debating for. You got your truth, I got my truth. We can sit down and do a podcast interview. We can sit down and do a Facebook. We can do a Facebook Live. We can do a video together on YouTube. But what do I look like arguing with you? It took me so long to come out of the aspect of that conflict in myself. One of the biggest conflicts for me was trying to make sure everybody saw me as I saw me. I wanted everybody to see me as I saw me. I wanted everybody to see me as whatever it was I was at that point in time. I wanted them to see me, everybody to see me the same. It wasn't until I realized that that is not how it works. Everybody has a different, in everybody's mind, you are somebody different. In everybody's mind, you play a different role. I play a different role in my mother's mind than in my pop's mind. I play a different role in my niece's mind, my nieces and nephews' mind, than in my sister's mind. So you don't really exist except for being a projection based on the thought process of those people, their needs, their wants, what they need. So if you're not doing the shadow work, this is where we get into that shadow work, working on the matters of the heart. If I'm not doing that shadow work, guess what I'm leading myself to? Trying to fit everybody else's narrative. One thing that I noticed head on, and I started observing even more when I got into my, when I came deeper into myself, was those time loops, those time pockets that people get stuck in. So I use an example. I don't eat McDonald's. I've said it before. I don't eat McDonald's. This don't do nothing for me. I don't eat certain things. So if I go around anybody else that still eats that or knew me when I ate that, that would be one of the programs in their mind to remember me at. So when they bring, hey, yo, we don't go to McDonald's, I'm like, I don't eat McDonald's no more. Based on their level of understanding, why you don't eat McDonald's no more? Like, man, I'm vegan. I'm plant-based. I don't eat McDonald's. Oh, you wanted them, da-da-da? Like, nah. Their perception would be, oh, you wanted them save the earth, da-da-da-da-da. Niggas be like, no. This shit over. I eat plant-based because it's an aspect of creation for me. I get to sit in the kitchen and learn and find out how to turn oyster mushrooms into chicken. I get to sit in the kitchen and learn how to turn meals that I ate when I ate meat, and when I went to the vegetarian aspect, and I get to learn how to put something else together to make it look like that and have an even better taste. Because I'm one to tell you, like, almost everything that I've ever cooked, when I was cooking before, all my shit was on point. Now my shit has evolved and elevated because you can taste more of what I put into it. You got to get to this space in your life where what you're putting in your life is making you ultimately better. What you're bringing around you is ultimately making you better. It's taking you to the next level. When you take in things based on that pendulum swinging, that rhythm, and you following that same rhythm, you gotta remember that rhythm, remember, you are an electromagnet. You're electric. So you lay a charge. Is your charge on the negative aspects or on the positive aspect? What negatives are you taking in that are not truly able to serve you and to become something that charges your positive point? What positives did you have at a point in time based on your identity that are no longer serving your purpose now? Learning aspect. If you've been doing the same thing for over 20 years, over 30 years, however many years, and it's that longevity, you got stuck within the longevity of being that person. And the only thing that you have is remnants of what you used to do. I used to do this. I used to be back in the day. You sound just like the old head that you sound just like the old head that the young kids laugh at. You stuck within the prison of your own mind. You stuck within the prison of your own making. Your identity created a prison for you, and now everything that shines through that prism or prison, is what you only see. So it gets even bad to a point when you start going around certain individuals. Like, for me, I can do everything. I tell everybody I can do everything from this seat right here, where I'm sitting at right now. The same place I'm sitting is the same place that you can go on YouTube and see the YouTube videos. The same seat where I'm sitting, when I sit down in front of it, same place you see the God Hour show. I can send everything from Instagram, send everything from Facebook. I can send all the information around. Especially in this time right now, that is most important, that people don't pay attention to. You in this time, in this zone right now, where you really can't go nowhere. So the ones that are sitting there doing the traditional aspects of life and learning how to make money and basically like hurt themselves to make money and do all these aspects, I look at like, man, I'm sitting on my couch. I just joined I got 2 spots in a Susu group that's a closed community that I'm in now, where I'm going to be making a residual income every month on schedule. In order for me to be able to appreciate that creation of desire, is now that I'm at a space right now where my mentality has changed tenfold. I ain't thinking about nobody oppressing me. I ain't thinking about nobody shutting me down. I ain't thinking about none of that stuff. So since I'm not thinking about these things, I don't think about negative aspects. I don't think about this could be a trap. Because if you think it's a trap, then it becomes a trap. Everything down here is meant to trap you. It's how you learn the traps. It's how you learn the games. It's how you learn the games of the wolves. These so-called oppressors. It's how you learn because they surely learn you based on they learn you based upon emotion. People around you learn you based upon your emotions. So if I'm emotionally detached anyway, that means I've learned how to navigate around my emotions. There's a difference between being emotionally just no emotion and emotionally detached. Big difference. We don't get into a lot of these differences people don't really understand. But yeah, there's a difference between being emotionalist and emotionally detached. Being detached from my emotions gives me the ability to observe when my emotions are out of balance. Remember, if I got the mask of my emotions on my face, I got my emotions masked on my face. I wear my anger, I wear my sadness, I wear my sadness, I wear my happiness, I wear it all on my face. I'm wearing this mask. How can I see when my emotions? How can I see what emotions coming up or what's out of balance if I'm looking through it? I have to be able to step back from it. Just the aspect of when you come into your knowledge, you come into your understanding with knowledge, you really are paying attention to yourself. Everything that how you read it as yourself. And this is what starts happening when you start reading things as yourself. It's similar to if I read a book on mind control. If I was in my identity, my ego, when I read a book on mind control, I'm only saying that because the book's sitting right beside me. If I read a book on mind control, the only thing my identity would say and find is everything that I'm connected to. Nigga, everything mind control. They mind controlling you over there. They doing this over here. This video mean this and this mean this. I start encoding that. And when you encode something, you put your energy into it. And we don't get deeper into that. But when you encode shit and make everything seem as one singular root of aspect, you put your energy into it. You now lay charge to that. That means anything that's positive within any other space will be a negative naturally to you. Everything that's coming to you is going to be based on a negative stream. If it's based upon with your identity. If your identity is looking at good and bad, that means anything that's outside of your paradigm, outside of what you know or what you thought that you knew, is going to be fundamentally incorrect. That means you can't look at it. You can't go in there past it. You have to try to make it fit into your soundscape. I say this based on time because a lot of people get stuck in that time aspect that the moment that they found something, everything got to come through there. And if it doesn't come through the nexus point of that, it doesn't come through that nexus point that they're used to it coming through, they can lay it onto the ground. So that automatically leaves you closed in. That's the key. Stop being closed in. That closed-minded aspect of being woke is what has you stuck in your clothes. That aspect of you being super woke is on the same line as the religious person. That's why y'all don't get along. Meanwhile, the occultist, the spiritualist, the alchemist moves around in that whole realm. I can move around in all the realms because I have an understanding of all the keys. Meanwhile, you're stuck over here in this spot or stuck in that spot or stuck over there because you don't want to learn nothing else. But yeah, we don't get deeper into this. We're going to turn it over to our sponsor for a little bit. I wanted to start hard. Usually I give a sponsor before this. We drop to the sponsor first. We stop into the sponsor after this. And we'll get right back into this. This has been the Chaos Matters. Welcome to the God Hour.
You feel like you got a voice, feel like you got something to say? Feel like you have something that can move the masses or get everybody tuned in and you want a bigger audience? Whether it can be anything from something like the God Hour or anything from like sports, news, fashion week, whatever it may be. Let me put you on to something. The easiest way to do it is with the Anchor app. Biggest thing about it is free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will even do all of the distribution for your podcast for you so it can be heard on many other platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money. You also can make money from your podcast with a minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. It's everything you need to get your voice heard and get what you feel that's in your heart and then to your heart out to the masses. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
And we back. Hold on, one gone too long. We outside the aspects of time. But I'm gonna use a personal. It's always best to use the personal experiences so I can better build with. Using someone else's experience really don't help you build as much as you want to build, except your example of seeing what you need to see. It's similar to whenever you listen to old Nas albums, or even some of Nas Nas album, or listen to an album. It's that story that you were looking for. That story that made it seem like they understood what you were going through. And when that's based upon the identity. That story that you look for, similar to you looking for something to make sense or make it make sense. None of this love is supposed to make sense to you. You're supposed to look at it. I'm just looking like movies whenever like the guys interacting with people, or like Thor in the first Thor when he came down, he looking like the way they were just weird, the way that they talked and they acted, so they were small people. And you start looking at these things, you're starting to see these things as like they're time loops, time continuums. They seem really small. You start taking a pride within yourself, but it's not based upon your ego. It's actually true confidence. I take very much pride because I'm very confident in everything that I put out. It is not based upon anybody except, I don't have to explain it to anybody. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody but me. And when I'm saying the things like this, when I'm moving in this direction, it makes sense to me. The key aspect of that is that contradiction that comes up. If it's based upon you haven't healed yourself, when it comes up, when it comes to the surface, you're sitting there like, nah, man, that ain't how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to do it this way. Or nah, you're supposed to. Nah, I'm not stuck in that paradigm. Back to this joint I went to on Saturday. It was a good party overall. Had a good time. And I did the most networking, or I basically did free consultations all night. That's how my conversations have become. It was like basically I was doing free consultations, giving out a little bit of information, seeding the spots that I needed to seed, seeing the things that I needed to see. I felt like Ace. I felt like Ace. I go there, handle my business, then I left. That's what you're getting into now. I love being able to go into a space, interact as I need to interact, and I can leave. Nothing's holding me to a space where nothing's binding me to a space based on me needing to fit in or me needing that to make sense to me. Nothing's doing that to me anymore. Like I haven't been in that space in a long time, and it feels pretty good to just be able to do what I want to do. Truly doing what I want requires a lot more. It required a lot more work and a lot more discipline than doing what I could. I remember doing what I could. Doing what I could, I was always behind the chaos. I was always in front of the chaos. I always had to be reactive. I had to get ahead of the chaos. It was always an aspect of, oh shit, I'm online. We gotta make sure we got this set. Like, even when I was moving in those spaces, I was always ahead of the chaos. When I was looking at people around me, they were like within the chaos. Like, they lose their minds, they lose their drive, the truth of them would come out. And I always was in a position where I was like, nigga, y'all knew it was Valentine's Day. Y'all know this is the busiest day, our busiest time for restaurants. How are y'all not? You didn't get enough sleep. You didn't think that this was going to be like this. You knew what was coming, but you still didn't accept your role. And that's that key. A lot of people know what's coming, but they don't accept their role. It isn't about knowing what's coming. It ain't about all the knowledge that you acquire. It's about applying it. So that's knowing your role within the information that you bring in. Some people are in the aspect of information when they bring in the information, they doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Some people like to argue back and forth. That may be what they're supposed to do. Some people apply it a little bit to get noticed. That might be what they're meant for. But in me knowing my role, understanding my level of being, it's not on no, I don't argue. I'm not going to give you a little bit of information and then seed it in there with some emotional shit. No, I'm going to give you straight fact. I'm going to give you the straight facts as interpreted by the information that I downloaded. If it isn't for you, it isn't for you. If it's for you and it resonates with you and it's taking you to that next level, keep using it. Study all, follow none. Do not get stuck in the back and forth, because that's how you get stuck in the polarity. Your rhythm is now stuck within that polarity. A lot of people's rhythms right now are off, especially with the retrogrades and all these events that have been happening, external states explaining the internal state of yourself, all that stuff coming to the surface, and now you're realizing you have to accept your level of being. Motherfuckers was mad as hell. People thought they was balling out of control when they had their until the virus hit. People were doing what they could based on what they were getting. But then it shifted. Got something for you. Shit's over. It ain't going back to that same narrative. They got kids going to school nowadays from the house. They already had, I thought about this. They already had in certain McDonald's around the world or in the United States, they got like, you go up to the front and you use the whole kiosk and you order your food. They already had drive-through where you just drive through and come pick up your food. So naturally, if they're going to advance it, now they got Grubhub, Grubhub, Uber Eats, Postmates, all these services where people bring your food to you. So if you're not paying attention, you still trying to invest in old things. And like if I sat here and said I didn't like, that's like me saying here and say I can't fuck with social media. Knowing social media is the online internet platform to get all information out. This is that way. Someone can sit here. No one is sitting. I'm not saying no one will, but when you're in a space, especially like right now, like I said it the other week, while everybody was sitting down, I was recording the podcast episodes. I was putting out the lectures. Now that you can't leave your house, you can't go outside to go get anything at that morning at some point in time. I had to learn how to get into that seat. Instead of me complaining, going back and forth, like, man, I can't do nothing, man, da 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 da. I created the space inside the crib. I created the space in my house. Everything from the studio where I record everything, the videos, when I put the videos together, everything that I do from the living room. It feels good to be able to wake up on like a Saturday or a Sunday and like do paperwork from the bed. I now know, like, when you look at the movies and the person like took their work to the house, that shit feels great to be able to sit there and type and work on natal charts and work on things from the crib. There's nothing outside of me that's going to stop me from doing that. And now that I'm in alignment with that aspect, now this is the mindset about money. And I say this is that money tip for the week. I don't have to worry because I never worried. I already ushered in the aspect of not worrying about how I was going to make my hours and make my money. I already ushered in. I know, like, in order for me not to worry about how much money I need to make, it's not worrying about how much money I need to make. It's thinking about how much money do I spend? How much money do I really need to spend? How much energy do I really need to spend in this space? Really? Can I cut back on how much energy I output? Changing my efficiency. That training module for myself, that discipline for myself, knocking myself down from spending God-obscene amounts of money a week, all the way to I spend like $135 a week, and that $135 a week that handled my getting back and forth from work, that handled my food, my lunch, my haircuts, everything else I needed to do. Everything that I was doing was within that $135. The bare minimum aspect. I became a true minimalist. I'm still a minimalist right now. And the reason I'm a minimalist now is because I'm in the space, in the mind frame of being the minimalist. I don't need much of anything to do whatever I'm doing. I got a laptop. I got my microphone. I got whatever programs I need on my laptop. I got whatever programs I got on my phones. I got everything that I need to do. So where's the excuse at anymore? Removing the external state, acknowledging that external state helps you be able to internalize what you truly need. No one can tell me, that, yo, you need this, this, and this. I remember the first time I was looking at the aspect for our podcast. I thought about doing a podcast back in like I'll say in like 2010. I thought about doing a podcast. And I'm looking at all the stuff that I saw, and my mindset was still in the old space at that point in time before I even started the podcast. So I'm looking at Drink Champs. So I'm looking at this wave of podcasts coming out. I'm looking at Drink Champs. I'm looking at all these entertainers doing podcasts. I'm looking at all these people doing these podcasts, basically. And they had this mixer board. They had these mics. They had these headphones. They had the cameras. They had all of these aspects. And I was like stuck on the views. Like, damn, they're getting a lot of views. But I wasn't looking at what it took them to get to that level to do that. And that's what stops a lot of people, is the chaos of sitting there saying, I don't think I can deal with this broad spectrum of things because I need this, this, and this. So I look the part. Once again, I sit in my living room and record this podcast. I do the music for the podcast from my living room, right there on the same laptop that I record this podcast on. So where's the excuse? I do the Facebook Lives. I do the Meditate and Elevate. I do the grounding segment that we're going to be adding soon. The revelation with the tarot reading, doing more tarot readings in those aspects. I put together all the products in my house. Instead of externalizing, looking for a reason not to do something, or you don't have, think about the reason why you're in that space and what you can create. But think about if you set a boundary. I set a boundary in this space. There's a boundary set. Positivity. If there's an issue is spoke on. All of these aspects are the boundaries that are set based upon my standards. So my trajectory, no matter where I go, when I come back down, when I come back to the home plate or the home base, it's always going to be that type of energy. It's always going to be that mindset. Starting from where I'm at, my home is in order. It's when your home is not in order, you start looking outside of your home for things to make you start looking for things outside of your home, and usually they're on some low vibrational shit. You start including stuff around you that's on a low vibration. That way you feel like you're doing something. And that's one of those biggest things where it's like people like drama because now they can sit there. If they're not going through drama, they're not going through these issues, they can be like, I ain't going through that. I ain't doing that. See, that's why I don't mess with people like that, because they always about that drama. Well, I always got drama, because then within that same month, my cutoff game strong. Within that next same month, my cutoff game strong. I didn't cut off. If you cutting off everybody every freaking year, I say those one more time. If every New Year's you coming up, New Year, new me, but it's every New Year you're saying New Year, new me, and it's in the aspect where you stuck within. I had to cut off a bunch of people and leave them in 2019, and now you in 2020, you've acquired them same archetypes or conduits of type of entities in your life. It's not them, it's you. Papa Lucy is going, I'm gonna tell you the truth, it's you. I say that from the most humblest space within me, because I realized that the things that were going on outside of me in my external life were based upon me. If I wasn't taking responsibility for the things I need to take responsibility for, then people outside of me weren't taking responsibility for the things they need to take for. Because they were a reflection point of what you ain't taking responsibility for your life. What in my life am I not taking responsibility for? Man, you ain't taking accountability for your accounts. Man, all your accounts is in disarray. My money was up and down. My shit was fluctuating, losing and gaining money. Then I'm sitting there looking like my external accounts is just fucked up. Like, I got a lot of money coming into it. I got a lot of energy coming into that account. But why at the end of the month, I don't have nothing to show for it? Other than I bought some food or I bought something. Because you ain't internally in right. Your mindset is still stuck on that identity aspect, that your ego gasps for air when you don't have something. I sit right here like, I ain't got to worry about the lights being turned on. I ain't got to worry about not having the internet connection. I ain't got to worry about none of that shit. I'm not worried nor stressed about anything. Period. I can stand by that. I'm not stressed or worried about anything. Not at all. So that gives me the vantage point to be able to see things if something comes up that can be stressful, I can now be proactive to how I approach it. If something's supposed to make me worry, if somebody's worried about something, now it's showing me the observatory standpoint. How can I be proactive against that type of worry? There is infecting and defecting. Your thoughts, based upon your ego, they infect. Your thoughts, other people's energy, they infect. They bring a sense of infecting to you. You ever been around people and like, no matter what you do or whatever you say, It just seems like they keep doing the same thing. There's no example outside of the external aspect of what they said. I can give you an example for everything that I say and I speak on. My entire life matches. Everything in my life matches my rhythm. It took a lot of healing for me to get to that type of space, to where everybody around me is on a rhythm, within that frequency, learning and impacting. That goes behind the aspect when I say, yo, I just really want to see you be great. Because if I can see the greatness in you, that means I can see the greatness because I'm seeing the greatness inside of myself. There was an aspect of time for me when I was going through the trauma periods of my life where I could see great things in other people, give them all the keys to the greatness that I saw within inside of them. But at the end of the day, I was doing it based on unconsciously receiving something back in return. I was doing it unconsciously based on what I was getting in return. Got my Aloe King in here. That shit delicious. I was stuck in the aspect of putting myself out there for the thought process in my mind that I was helping my people out. I was helping somebody out. And then I would sit there at the end of the day, end of the week, end of whenever that season ended, that cycle ended of helping people. And I would sit there and in my own mind, I would never probably say I would said it out loud a couple of times, but I never really said it out loud. I said it out loud a couple of times, but I would be sitting there like, yo, man, I'm doing all this stuff for all these people right here. And they keep doing this to me and they keep doing this to me. And man, I don't get no respect, man. I can't do this, and this. And I started thinking to myself, I do the same thing every time. Every time somebody needs something from me, I give them what I have. I give them what I have. I give them the shirt off my back, all these aspects. But then I had to start really thinking about it. I was putting in all this work based upon what algorithm, what formula was I activated on? I was activated on a formula of I was still within the active. I was still in the program of I was struggling. I was struggling. I was in an oppressed mindset. That oppression monologue was part of my narrative. That struggle aspect was a part of my narrative. So no matter what I did, I had to always go back to the struggle aspect. Remember, that's that program. That's that program. So if my subconscious is programmed to struggle and oppression, it don't matter what I do, I'm always going to find a way. My ego's always going to find a way to get back to the oppression. So that meant the people that I was around at a point in time, they had to be going through some type of struggle for me to be around them. They had to be going through some type of oppression wavelength for me to be around them. Just so I could either say, I'm not struggling, or I'm struggling to understand why you're struggling. Identity. My identity was my sub-program to my mindset was struggle. So everything that reflected around me had to see as struggle. So whenever I was doing something, I can take pride in doing what I was doing, and it wasn't leading me back to struggle. But in that same conundrum, I'm struggling to keep the balance of seeing struggle so I don't struggle. I'm looking at the aspects of oppression so I don't get oppressed. So I keep myself at an emotional imbalance. I keep my emotions stuck between these two polarities. And one side can make me happy, the other side make me mad. There was no balance. This is an aspect where you start doing things. You have to really take your level of being to understand where you're at. Understanding the fundamental properties of what it is that you've accepted in your life. A lot of people accept a lot of these, what are actually their social groups or social groupings, just so they can say that's what they are. That's what I meant earlier when I said it in the God thought. People like to get stuck in that aspect of what they were, or what they are, or what is given to them. But there comes a point in time that what you're using, you should be able to teach it within the fundamental concepts, at least the basic fundamental concepts of explanation. That way somebody can be like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. So if I do this, this, and this will happen. Yeah. But in order to do that part, when this happens right here, everything that comes up from this subject, from everything that's going to come up right here. Like if I tell somebody, training somebody to be if I'm doing personal training, use that as an example. You almost went into a whole other story. When I'm being a personal trainer, I have to understand the aspects of like what are your eating habits. How are you eating? How often are you eating? What are you eating when you are eating? When we go in here and do this workout, your body going to break down. You're going to sweat. You're going to be tired as hell. But after a while, your body's going to get used to it. But right before you get used to it, I'm going to switch over the program. I'm going to switch the whole regimen and routine around. That way your body never becomes relaxed in the aspect of it's trying to grow. It's to grow outside of its paradigm. It's a constant state of fucking chaos, which is that uncomfortableness that you need. A lot of people do not like being uncomfortable. I laugh at ones that don't like being uncomfortable because I love being uncomfortable. I love being in uncomfortable situations based upon my own. Oh shit, no. I love being within the aspects of being uncomfortable in the aspects of the environments that I control. I love being uncomfortable based upon the environments that I love that I can control. There is nothing more fun than being in a position where I can control the level of discomfort. You got to become the discomfort. Remember, it's all about becoming. I love being in a space where everybody gets uncomfortable. And I don't even have to say anything. Because I know how to feed from it. Oh, instant got in my nose. Only thing worse than the instant getting in your nose is when the insert that smoke getting your eye. But I love being in that space. I love being in environments where the chaos, I am the chaos. I remember being at my job and it would get so chaotic, so busy, and I would just simply move faster. I wouldn't slow down because I started at a certain speed. The speed that I started at increased as the chaos increased. As where some people will shut down when the chaos arrives or shut down when a certain aspect arrives, I'm the one flowing with it. I was doing that unconsciously for years. And I was wondering why I liked it so much. It's because that was a natural aspect of me. I had to allow everything. When I stopped being in that space where the chaos was arising, I remember standing online, I would get off work. And I'd be standing over there by the office door. I'd be standing by the office door. And I'm watching them online. I remember I walk out to the floor, see if there was any guests out there. There wouldn't be very many guests out there. But I would look back there on the screen, and they screens in shambles. Red blinking everywhere, screens blinking everywhere. I'm like, y'all busy? And then I go up there and I be like, oh, it's this one page of red. But then I started observing the environment. Like, these guys was like, either they got drunk before they came to work, they were high before they came to work. There was an external factor that was needed for them to be in that state of being. There was an external state, a factor that was needed for their state of being. They got used to that aspect. I started throwing this more and more, like they got used to me being the instrument of chaos. They got used to it, whether it was conscious or unconscious. So when I stepped away from doing all of the work, what was left was the ones that weren't doing the work. And as I started stepping further and further away from that aspect, I was able to show people like, yo, you should be doing this, or you should be doing this, you should be doing this. Here's the suggestion. Here's a suggestion. I still give suggestions now, even when I give out spiritual aspects, like spiritual baths and rituals. I still give you suggestions. If you want to keep a balance for yourself, do this on a full moon so you can set that intent on a full moon so you can tap to that energy. Same thing. Just at a higher level. I don't have to be a part of anything to do that. That's the aspect we get into. We get stuck in these social confines that we don't get into in this next piece. Okay, man. As I light up. Hey. But yeah, there's the social constraint. The status quo. I am this, so everything came from this. You sound just like the other person on the other end of that polarity that says the same thing. That's why you can't escape it. Because you haven't become it yet. There's a difference between regurgitating and actually applying that shit. True genius is what you're able to apply and work with. True genius is what you're able to apply and work with. Other than that is just intellectual data that you have not imputed. But yeah. I'm going to switch this over real quick. We're going to get right back into this. Up to the God hour. All right, we back on that. Nice little quick switch over real quick. But yeah, I remember being in that space where I was feeding chaos. And a lot of us times we don't realize that we feed chaos. We feed the chaos rhythm and then dipping your feet into the water, as I like to say. We dip our feet into that water, and when it starts shredding away things, that's when your ego starts grasping for that air, as I said earlier. It starts grasping for air. It starts wanting you to do certain things and move. It starts moving you away from it, moving to the chaos. Until you're able to move within the chaos and the things that the necessary triggers that are hit ain't gonna be hit. There's whole friendships that I value for the time that I had with them and the shit that I learned. But right now at this point in time, that same aspect don't even... I'm at that point where it's like, I really don't care. There's a whole different aspect. There's a whole different mindset to truly not caring. A lot of people can say they don't care. Me included at a point in time where they don't care. I open up my candy, my sugar intake. People don't really care. When you don't really care, you may gotta say it. When you truly do not care, you don't gotta say anything. It'll either come up in perception, it's either gonna come up based on external perception or internal projection. External perception or internal projection. Or projecting from the internal. People still get upset with me because I'm so nonchalant. I'll sit there, have a whole conversation with somebody can say something to me. I'll be like, that's nice. Going about my business. I made a career of being that way. Sitting there and be like, all right, that's cool. Whatever you feel like you need to say, you're going to say. The thing that changed in me in my nonchalantness was just because I said I did not care did not mean that I did not understand. Just because I did not care did not mean that I did not understand. It's your perception or your inner projection, that inner reflection from yourself, is that's what you're playing with. You feel that somebody's like, that's like someone saying, when someone's telling the truth and you challenge them, they get angry. So what does a liar learn to do? Get angry whenever you challenge them? So how can you see if they're telling the truth if you automatically had the thought, man, he got real upset when we said that. That means he got to be telling the truth. He's standing by his ground. That's her identity playing a trick on you. You can sit there all day and have an argument with somebody. Try to get your point across. The things that change within their algorithms, things you really should pay attention to. Just from the observatory standpoint. I remember listening to somebody argue when I remember listening to my moms and my pops argue. In the emotional aspect of me, I would always try to be the defense to my mother or defend the situation. It wasn't until I got older that I was able to actually sit back further and look at the arguments that they were having. All I ever heard was they were arguing over money. It wasn't until I got a job that I was now in the state of chaos. Mom needed money to get something from the store. Okay. Wasn't a big deal. But then I noticed the arguments didn't stop. That means it was not the money. This is the aspect that we get stuck on based on the attention to the surface. The attention to the surface. A lot of times we come into these spaces and we think it's going to be that quick fix that's put something on top of it. This is what I meant by imagery. Looking at, I'll use it as an example. I saw the Biden Camilla commercial the other day. I saw all the emotional aspects from the people that he used for the video. It was all black people saying, it's a historic moment. Her story's gonna be told, and da 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 da. In my mind, I'm sitting here saying, so you're happy with accepting the second seat. You're happy not being in the driver's seat. That's what I saw. I was going to the store earlier, doing a store run earlier, and I was in the car and the radio was on, and I was listening to the Breakfast Club, and the first thing that I hear is Charlamagne's guy talking about voting and Trump stealing another election, and I'm just listening to the emotional aspects of it, and then I'm sitting there and I'm putting two and two together. I sat there and put two and two together. I was like, they moving off of emotion. They stuck within the same polarity of emotion that got your boy, what the external state would say, they're moving off the same external emotion that got your boy in the office the first time. They got Trump in there the first time. So by you acting within the same rhythms, not realizing what it symbolizes, you going to repeat the same shit. You feel like you need, that's like if I sit here and was like, all right, cool. My rent is $1,000 a month. So that means I need $1,000 a month. Oh shit. My electric bill is $100 a month. Oh shit, now I need $1,100. Oh shit, my cable bill is $50 a month. Now I need $1,100. I need $1,100. I need $1,150. I need $1,150. Oh shit, my phone bill's another $50. Now I need $1,200. Do you see how quickly your mind now creates unneeded data space? So now everything that I just named, I have to have money for it. Now, instead of me being able to, now in that same line, I have this $1,200 a month that I gotta spend as an example. Now I gotta find a way to make $1,200 a month. Now I have to find a way to make $1,200 a month. Now I get a job. I get paid $400 a month, $400 a week for my job after taxes. So I make $1,600. No, yeah, that's about 16. Yeah, 4, 4, 8, 8. Okay, I make $1,600 a month. Okay. I make $1,600. Now I'm making $1,600. Now I got the $1,600 cracking off. I got $1,600 popping. Cool. I got my $1,600 in the bag. I got the bag. Got the $1,600 shaking it. My mind's still stuck on struggle. My mind's still stuck in the struggle. So all the chaos all that energy I pull off based on that chaos to make $1,600 a month. Now that I got $400 left at the end, what do I do with that $400? Yeah, what do I do with that $400? For a couple of months, I might save $100 here, $200 there. But since my mindset is still stuck on needing more, instead of the aspect, since my mind's now stuck on what to think, now that I have this money, I can do some more things. I have $400 extra. The program of somebody telling me, yo, you ain't got 4 till you got 8 never enters my mind. It's in there, but it never plays out. Because I'm based on what to think and not how to think. So now let me take that same algorithm and we're going to change it around and make another example out of it. All right, cool. I'm sitting in my place. My bills are still $1,200 a month. I don't have 12 until I got 24. I don't have $1,200 for all of my shit until I got 24. Okay. Now I switch it around. I got $400 left at the end of every month. That means niggas that spend the first 3 checks and save the last check, or spend the last check, or they'll spend one of them checks out the month, knowing the bill's gonna be the same every month. So now I got that extra $400 in there every month. Now I can factor in, I might need to get a haircut, need a way to work if I ain't got my car, Ubers and Lyfts, add those in there. So I say getting my haircut, food, getting back and forth to work. I'm going to say that's going to cost me about $200. All right. Now I ain't got $200 till I got $400. So I got 2 formulas in my head that I'm going to play out. So that $200 I got at the end of every month, I now start saving. I put that whole $200 away. Don't care. I put that whole $200 away. All right. I go through this rhythm every month for about, we'll say 6 months. I put away $200. So at the end of those 6 months, at the end of the 6 months, that's 6 months in total in transit for my money. Now I'm sitting there like, okay, cool. I got my $600 going every month. I've done I put away $200 for the last 6 months. So 200 times 6 is 12. So now that next month comes. Do the same thing. But at the end of this month, I'm looking at my savings. I got 12 in there. I'm looking at my checking account and I got 12 in there. Together, I got $2,400. Now I don't have $2,400, 12 till I got 24. So that means I ain't got 6 till I got 1,200. So now I take that. Now that I've acquired $1,200 into my savings account, I take $600 from my savings account and drop it into my checking. So now when the first of the month comes, the 4 from that check and the 4 from that check, that's 8. I could take 600 from that and put with that 600 that's already in the account, and all my bills are paid. So if I take 600 from that 800, that leaves me with 200. It's not an extra 200. That 200 now goes into the savings account. That means the next month, the next check that comes, that's the last check of the month that comes, I take 1,200 from there. I take 200 from there. I take that, I do that same math over and over and over again until I actually build myself up. Now I take that same math, applying my money. So, okay, cool. I ain't got 1,200 till I got 24. Now I had 24, but now I ain't got 24. I only had 12 in one account, 12 in another account. It means I got to build this account up to about 12, and I got to build this account up to about 24. How do I build this account up to 24? And this is the aspects of you start becoming more proactive. So when you're reactive to things, things come up. Things don't come up regardless. Because you're always going to be thinking something going to come up. You're never going to get ahead in that mindset, stuck on the old rhythm. Stuck in that same aspect. Okay, cool. I'd rather have the second chair. No, I want to be ahead of my shit. I want to be in the level of my shit where I ain't got to be worrying about shit. I want to be able to, this time next year, in this example, this time next year, be able to say, okay, cool, I've accumulated, I'm doing that same rhythm of 1,200 every 6 months, so that's 24 in a year. I mean, that's 48 in 2 years. I got a raise. I've already acquired my account to be, so when I get that raise, when I get that promotion, when I get that raise at my job, that's a bonus to my account. I now can save more because I already have set the algorithm in play for me to survive and sustain. This is one of those key aspects that we get stuck in when we get stuck within the chaos. We'll sit here and do something, and then when something extra comes, we call extra, we apply that extra to the external. We'll apply that extra bit of affirmation that we get to the external aspect to understand for the external to exist. Think about aspects like you want to go, the internal aspect of you needing your car. You need your car, so you need a license and you need insurance. Basic needs to have a car. You do not have a license, so you need somebody with a license. You don't have insurance, so you can't get insurance, so you need somebody else that has insurance. Now you got to create a conduit outside of yourself that has those things. Remember, the hand that can feed you is the hand that can starve you. So now you need that aspect. So now, in order for you to have go back to your sense of independence, you got to mask that over there somewhere. You got to hide that away. What is going to hide behind? Trauma. That's why you put it there. You put it there as a conduit, and the way it connected you was based off of that equal trauma. So when I look at a commercial for Biden and Kayla, Koala, whatever her name is, and then I hear Charlemagne the God talking about the voter thing and the vote thing and white supremacy and all these things, it doesn't enter my mind to set root. It doesn't take root in my mind because I'm looking at it from the aspect of the observer. I'm looking at it from my own personal aspect where I'm at right now, when I can go back and I look at my Rolodex of information. I can just go back to March when I talked about the COVID-19 thing. And it was like, I celebrated COVID-19. Because COVID-19 put me in a power position. How could you say that, man? Your people out here struggling and you talk about you in a power position. You put your other people on. Oh, I can. How, man? They need money now. I'm gonna put them in a position the same way I came into the position. I'm gonna work the same magic on them that I worked on myself. Man, how'd you get to where you were at? Shadow work. Man, how'd you get into your meditation? Through my shadow work. Man, how your meditation gonna lead you to making more money? Cause my energy be in order. Man, I ain't got time for that, man. Yeah, you do. You got 24 hours, right? What are you doing them times when you ain't doing shit? What are you doing in the times when you truly ain't doing shit? Oh, you looking at you on Facebook, you on watching TV. Come sit over here and meditate real quick. Just sit here. Let the silence hit you. Let the noise come in. Let the chaos come in. Man, I ain't got time, man. Don't think about the bills. Don't think about things that are already in motion. You thinking about the motion and you can't get in tune with the rhythm. You stuck on the motion and you can't get in tune with the rhythm. That energy being in motion, you being angry because you got to pay this and you got to do this. In this space, that's what you got to do. The key factor to do it is learn how to do it even more efficiently. Because the way that you are at the bottom half feeding the chaos. That's like there was that I remember I saw a picture on my Facebook one time, and the guy was the owner of the company was like, "Hey, you guys doing an excellent job." Like the dude actually like, "Yes, a nice car." I said, "Yeah, if you guys work real hard and stay to your job and stay to your works and keep working and keep doing what you're doing, I can buy another one next year." Think about that. If you feed the chaos, I can now siphon from the chaos in order to get whatever I want. That's the whole aspect setting intent in chaos magic. We don't get into on Friday. You looking for a reason you trying to look for something to stop chaos. When the whole aspect of alchemy or any applied science is chaos. So why would you be trying to stop something that you need to do what you need to do? It's that identity. It's that identity that people up. It's that ego that'll fuck you up. The ego has you stuck in trying to prove a point into a situation and you ain't listening to the situation. You are not listening. You ain't listening to what you need to be listening for. You listening to reply instead of hearing to actually learn. I can sit back in any given moment and listen to everything I need to listen to and just sit there and make the moves when I need to move away from whenever I need to, because I'm not stuck within the rhythm of the space of like, yo, I gotta be over here tomorrow and I gotta be at work in the morning, and so man, I only can be here for like 15 minutes. Anything after 15 minutes I can't do. What is the point of me getting up? That means I put a thought process in my mind. Remember, everything you program into your mind, you start in the beginning of the day. So if someone tells me about an event that's on a day, like let's say if I was working a traditional job. Even now, if someone says, yo, I'm about to go do this over here, I'm like, I got work to do. This is the aspect of being the boss, either being the worker. If you working, you gotta, the same aspects of the worker and the boss are within the same paradigm, on the same parallel. Because the boss needs you to do what you doing so they can keep doing what they doing. They need you to take charge in what you're doing because that gives them the charge for what they're doing. Changing that paradigm of becoming the boss. To become something, you must subject yourself to the attributes ideal that I always break down. So in order for me to be where I'm at now, I had to subject myself. I had to step out of the aspect of being the boss, being the worker, and step into the aspects of being the boss, being the king, being the guy, being the general. So as I was becoming more and more of the god, I was becoming more and more of that titan, becoming more of that chaos figure. The things that kept me away from being the humanity aspects or the ego or the identity aspects that kept me away from that space, they started showing up. Friendships, the job, all these things that were going on in my life, all this chaos was coming up. But as I'm giving myself the mantra, I'm a god, I am a god, I am a god, I am a god, I'm a creator, I am a creator, I'm a creator, I'm the generator, the operator, the destroyer. I'm the generator, the operator, and the destroyer. The generator, the operator, and the destroyer. As I started saying this to myself over and over and over again, and applying this to everything I was reading, everything I was taking in, it naturally took me into that hidden space of my mind, my subconscious. So then I started studying my aspects of being the occultist. The God aspect is the social club. Right now, the God aspect is simply the social club. It became another figure of speech, just like saying Hotep all the time. That's why I laugh when they were panicked, say no Tep, or say human stay. That should be funny as fuck to me, because that's kind of where I'm at. That's where I'm at in understanding. Like, yeah, I'm not trying to remain human. It's nice to take the title of God. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if someone says, peace, God, supreme rising God, I'll say, what's up, God? I'll say it right back to him. But outside of that aspect, I'm the only reason I can even say that, or I allow myself to say that, is because it's one of the steps that I'm on. It's a step that I've stepped past. So I can see the aspects of what being a God is. So, like, because I notice when people like say certain things in certain aspects, if I say some high level shit, and I know I do, and that's with the utmost humility. If I say some next level shit, in order for them to acknowledge that, they have to step out of the space that they're in. That's a scary ass aspect for some. That type of chaos, to have that type of thought. It's not about trying to match it to where you're at. It's about allowing it to take you where you need to go. That's why you keep getting the same aspects in your life. That's why the same themes keep popping up in your life. You got motherfuckers got people in their life right now that they do not like. They do not deal with on a regular basis. The only thing that they're attached to them is based upon money. This goes into aspects of relationships. There's people that are in relationships just based upon money. Based upon their energy not being in order. Based on being in a chaotic situation, like they haven't dealt with a certain trauma. Because I can guarantee if I sat here and did a relationship retreat and help people work on their inner aspects of themselves, the most important relationship, I can guarantee by the time the relationship retreat is over, everybody will be single. I can almost guarantee everybody in that space will be single. Everybody will part and go separate ways. And then someone will look like, man, that man did a relationship retreat, man. My lady broke up with me. But like, oh, my bad. I didn't know y'all wanted to be together. If y'all were going to be together, y'all would have worked on what came up. I came up on that Friday. When I said it on Friday, I said, you can come into a situation with somebody, and the things that come up are the things that need to be worked on. He ain't no good with money. You ain't no good with money. Y'all struggling. If you good with money, but he ain't, if you're good with the aspect of making money, but you don't understand how to make money, you don't understand how to keep your money generating once it's in your space, similar to the example I gave, then the person that you will meet is either going to be somebody that's even worse with money, or based on your algorithm of thought, or they're going to be so good with money, they're going to have you challenging yourself. Damn, I ain't never thought about it that way. I ain't never thought about money, and I ain't never thought about this and that way, or that and that way. Yeah. That's why you need that challenge. I tell people all the time, like, you need the person People choose people either to advance or to stay the same. You either choose somebody based on the heal or to stay within the trauma. With this retrograde, this is what it's going to be showing you. With your 2020 hindsight, within the year 2012, the end. This represents the end of everything that you used to know. Allow it to happen. Allow it to come to the fucking surface. That dude you was with, that chick you was with, wasn't shit when you met them. That job you were with, that you got with, you knew it wasn't shit when you got it. All these aspects are kicking your ass. They kicking you into the chaos and you don't want to walk away from it. It's showing you that the chaos is no longer, it's showing you that the chaos is the only thing that matters. It's showing you that the chaos is the only thing that matters. So what are you doing with it? Are you embracing it? Or are you running away from it? Y'all stay tuned for the plug talk. Might have another segment. Nah, we don't say that for the lecture. Y'all stay tuned for the plug talk, and the closeout. Thank you for choosing the God Hour.
You know we gotta keep you plugged in. I gotta keep you plugged in. Follow me on Facebook, Rock Colonijas Follow me on Facebook at Rock Colonijas. On Instagram, Papalucci_666, and on Twitter at GodKing84. I'm getting around to changing them all to be synced in one synonymous name, but Facebook be acting up. Also, when you on Facebook, check out the God Hour podcast live edition page for God Kings for Goddess Queens page. And check out Papa Lucy's Sunday service to stay in effect with all the events coming up, especially the new lectures, everything coming up. Speaking of the new lectures, Gotta Go Alchemist is the YouTube channel, 8 p.m. for the staple for the 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday night lectures. That's become like the staple. We've been doing it for a little while now. September 13th will be that year point of that. October 21st will be the year point for the podcast, so you can see like the growth that we've been building ever since then. GottaCodeAlchemistLLC.com still for all your services, including natal chart analysis, guided meditation, setting up for that life coaching, setting up for that counseling and that therapy. The most important aspect for you to do is it's right there for you. What are you doing? That's all it is. That's like when I always put the guarantee to the $90 for that consultation, that hour video chat, an hour phone call will be the best phone call of your life, based on you wanting to grow, based on you wanting to take yourself to the next level. Let's chop it up and get that set up for you. Spiritual baths, spiritual teas, more spiritual bath like products and herbs and other stuff coming up soon. Go in there for the rituals, set up your thing for the spiritual bath. Set yourself up. I just want you to be great. Every intention that I got and everything that I do is basically the energy to take you to the next level. setcallneedus@gmail.com. You know, that's for the business links, networking, investments. You want to be ad space, interview on the podcast. Hit me up at setcallneedus@gmail.com and I will get back to you. PapaLucy666@gmail.com is for the personal effects. If you order a service from me, I send you an email via PapaLucy666. So that's to let you know in advance to make sure it don't go into your spam folder. Or you hit the number 910-777-7708. Lucifer Sami's Cash App link. There's no reason for you not to be doing what you need to be doing. And that's what this episode was about, that chaos matters.
You need that chaos so you don't stifle and become complacent in reacting. You learn how to become more proactive in how you move forward. Embracing yourself, embracing the things that you hate, you have to learn. Once you learn them, then you can now embrace them because you become them. That's how you tap into the true love of yourself. But we got all that out of the way. Oh yeah, this week's lecture is going to be on chaos rhythms. You know, get into the chaos rhythms, understanding that chaos rhythm. We got into the chaos matter aspect. Nice little broad span right now, so we're going to get into chaos rhythms after this on Friday. And you know, tonight, if you're listening right now, you know, every Tuesday, you know, during the day, we drop the podcast, get the information out there. Tonight, you know, we do the live readings, Q&A. Might have an interview or two, we don't know. But 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time via Facebook Live. Get in there, get that reading, get your feel. You got a question, ask your question. You can start your stuff from there. There's no reason for you not to be doing what it is needed to be done. Everything that's coming up according to, look, you think about this, is Mercury retrograde brought everything out to the surface. Chiron brought light to everything. And now that Uranus is in retrograde, the moon was in Taurus when it started going to retrograde. It's time to start grounding yourself. It's time to be headstrong in what you're grounding yourself in. There's no going back. All that shit's over. It's what you're doing right now. But yeah, stay tuned for the closeout. Yeah. Oh yeah. Paper Tuesday, God. Everything that we talked about in the Plug Talk, this episode was Chaos Matters. The most important part of realizing that chaos triggers those traumas. It triggers where you need to move to. If you're seeing something happening and you hate it, it means you got to learn it. Once you learn it, you can embrace it. And once you embrace it, you now have the unconditional love based upon the understanding and the compassion for it. You can't beat you can't beat the evil, so to speak, without becoming the necessary evil. You start understanding that the villain made sense. I remember going back looking at movies, the villain always made sense. The villain always exposed something based upon weakness from, I'm going to use Power Rangers. I don't know what Power Rangers came to my mind. Think about the Power Rangers. It wasn't until Tommy, and we going way back. It wasn't until Tommy came through and was using all that power, that new joint, that forced them to have to get new Zords and new suits and new everything. They had to get new power. They never would have went to that new level without the necessary aspect of that evil to set them into the new tone. So many times we try to become complacent and make things work in a space to where the chaos is showing you your way out. Remember, I said it a while back. I said it probably a while back. I said it in earlier lectures. Their arrogance is always going to be your way out. That arrogance that's at the line right there between confidence, that contradiction point right there, that's your way out. What you've seen over the last couple of months of your life, if there's been repeats over the last couple of years, this is exactly what you need. Now that you have exactly what you need and you saying that you want, what are you going to do with it? You have all this free reign for new energy to create something different, to take yourself to the next level. What are you going to do with it? You don't sit there and complain that it ain't exactly what you wanted? Thought you was a god. Start creating. I thought you was a goddess or a god. Start creating. Because if you ain't creating, somebody going to create it for you. If you ain't programming that subconscious, somebody going to program it for you. If you ain't acknowledging those traumas and using those to catapult yourself to the next level, somebody going to use them for you. Moral of that whole fucking story is, if you ain't doing it, somebody else will. I've heard people say that shit a lot of times when they go in their relationships. If you ain't gonna do it, somebody else will. What you ain't gonna do, some other shorty will. I hear that all the time. I used to hear that shit all the time. I remember I took that in my mind. It was like, it didn't compute with me because there was a different aspect of loyalty for me. But it showed me the aspect of the moral balance and the moral compass wasn't really shit. The shit that I've seen in humanity, that I went through in my mind, that I've done that shadow work when I'm working on myself, and now going forward doing the things that I do now, it really showed me how ain't shit humanity is. But in order for me to understand humanity, I had to become ain't shit in certain paradigms in my life. I had to do certain things that I wasn't necessarily proud of, but it was a necessary aspect for me to learn from. And that's the major key. Stop being stuck in, don't be that old head in the freaking food court with his pants leg rolled up. Don't be that aunt at the barbecue doing all the old dances, still trying to get yourself a young man. Advance and evolve. This has been another episode of the God Hour. I've been your host, your master of the ceremonies, Papa Lucy. And I'll see y'all, if not tonight, at the lecture. And on the lecture, if it resonated with you, we'll be seeing each other soon. Yeah. If it resonated with you, I'll be seeing you soon. I love y'all. We love us. Ashe.